Hey, welcome back to the basement and welcome to day 3 of Hybrid in Writing. Today your first activity is going to be to begin your organization of your answer to the question, does entertainment have the capacity to ruin society? Or more closely related to the prompt, you are to defend, qualify, or challenge the assertion that entertainment has the capacity to ruin society. So what we need to do is we need to have a lesson on outlining. The assignment where you find this video is where you're going to turn in your outline. And let me say this right up front, you're going to get about a first hour of class to learn about it and work on it. So watch the video and then get started. And then we're going to need to set it aside because we're going to move on to the response to literature unit in our live sessions. And you'll have to finish it this afternoon for homework and turn it in at 4 o'clock so that I can begin to go through them and give some feedback so that then tonight you can turn the outline into a rough draft. And it's a rough draft that you're going to kind of leave behind, and then we're going to start outlining the response to literature paper. Then that will become a draft on Friday, and then that should give you 2 very, very, very rough drafts to choose between what you want to turn as your first final draft. So just right up front, you're going to be busy today. It's a full day of school, but my hope is that I can try to make your opening video here a little bit shorter. No promises. It's hybrid. There is a lot to get through. So let's hop onto Classroom and look at where you're going to find your work. So right now you should be in this assignment right here, assignment 2.3, persuasive number 1 outline. This is where you're going to attach the document that is your outline, and this document will be graded out of 10 points in the process competency, and the rubric that I use for doing so is right here. Now let's talk about what an outline is. So we already looked at the analytical paragraph. This analytical paragraph is the example that we shared at the end of the first day. And so if you want to go back to that first day lesson, that's where you're going to find a link to this with the comments on the side that tells us that we have a claim, and then we have context that sets up the evidence, and then we have an evidence, then we have more evidence, and then we have some analysis, and this analysis right here proves why this evidence here is a reason to believe this, what the author is trying to persuade. So in our long form paper, we need all our paragraphs to do the job of supporting that working thesis that you turned in. And while you're getting started setting up your outlines, I'm going to jump into the working thesis that you turned in and provide some comments and questions. So if I haven't got to your working thesis yet, you'll still want to get started on setting up your outline, maybe organizing a couple paragraphs, and then know that your feedback on your thesis will be coming in later this morning. So what does an outline look like? Well, at its most basic, you're going to set it up so that all your body paragraphs can have that same format of this model that I just showed you: claim, evidence, commentary. And so you'll want your topic sentence or claim of your body paragraph, context that sets up the evidence which is your quotes, some insight into how you're going to use your quotes, and this doesn't necessarily have to be full sentences, but it should help me, your assessor, understand how you're going to use that evidence to prove the claim that is up here. And then a last sentence, it's like the conclusion of the paragraph. We can call it a connective because it connects this body paragraph back to the overall thesis statement. So in order to give you an overview of the paper, I make a 3-paragraph model here, where we have introduction that ends with the thesis statement, your answer to the prompt, as many body paragraphs as we need to support that argument, and then finally a conclusion that restates the argument, the answer to the question, and a little bit of a kicker that gives your essay a reason to exist. All right, so this is the basic format of a paper. If we need to extend it, then we add more body paragraphs. I'm just going to do that quick with a copy and paste. And so since 4 paragraphs is the minimum, you're going to want to make sure that this is what your outline looks like at least. But of course, you're not going to just leave single words context evidence. You're actually going to replace it with your work. All right, so let's take a look at a completed outline. Now, this is some actual student work that I've since changed the name and maybe added a little polish. I honestly can't remember. But what they did is they gave me some helpful 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can see that they've planned out 5 paragraphs. They've clearly marked their thesis. They've clearly marked the topic sentences. When I grade the outlines, I'm going to be checking topic sentence to thesis, topic sentence to thesis. I don't always read all these little ones in between, so clearly marking the topic sentence can help me see right away if your paper has a logical organization. You can see here that this student also included sort of helpful, almost categorizations to say, like, this is the purpose of the paragraph. Because part of what an outline is to do is to figure out what is the order of your arguments. We don't want our paragraphs to be little islands, in that I could take a paragraph and remove it from the paper and the paper would be no different. Then why did we write it? What was the purpose of it? There should be a sequence of argumentation. Once I understand one idea, then I move on to the next paragraph and build on the work that you have done. Which in this paper you can see that after 2 paragraphs of showing that there's a problem, since there's a thesis here that the government should not do outright gun control, but rather control and not allow concealed guns, right? So it's almost a qualified argument. Their last paragraph is like, we need a solution. It's their call to action. So they have 2 paragraphs explaining why there is a problem. And then their 3rd paragraph argues that a solution needs to be found. Okay, so that makes sense in terms of a logical order. All right, say this still is overwhelming for you. There is a graphic organizer available. It's going to be up in the intro, and it's an outline organizer that you can feel free to borrow and put your outline in this format instead. You'll essentially be doing a basic outline, but instead of bullet points, you can get these little hints as to like what is supposed to come next. But I would say it's a great skill to learn how to use the outline tools, which is what I'm circling right here, in any word processor. So very quickly, I'm going to show how that's done in a new tab. I'm just going to open up a straight up new document. And the nice thing about an outline is that it doesn't have a format. So unlike the paper, which is formal, it has to be MLA formatted, the outline is for you. So as long as it's going to show me the things that are on the rubric, you can make it purple. It doesn't matter to me. Feel free to express yourself. What does matter to me is that I see an organization of ideas. And the way to do that, the have to of it, is you're going to choose either a numbered list or a bulleted list. I think a lot of students probably like a numbered list because it helps them see when they have organized 5 paragraphs. Once you click that button, you'll get your first helper number, and then until you exit out of this by deleting it, your document will be in numbered list mode. And so one of the first things that's really easy to do is you can set up your 5 paragraphs if you know you're going to write 5 paragraphs. Introduction, body 1, body 2. You know what? Let's do 4 paragraphs because of this first week. Conclusion. All right, I have 4 paragraphs. Now, what goes into the introduction? Well, the most important thing in the introduction is that the last sentence should be your thesis, the answer to the question. So let's put the thesis in there. Oh, no. The thesis, that's not a paragraph, that's a sentence. It's a sentence that goes inside the paragraph. So how do I show that? Place your cursor here and press the Tab key, and it will change it to a subordinate bullet point. And whatever format you're in will change what the bullet point looks like. So if I change to here, it becomes a hollow bullet point. And there's all sorts of fun stuff. There's, there's stars. All right, so again, feel free if it works for you. I just need to see organization of ideas, subordination of ideas. So what's the first sentence in the body paragraph? That's right. It's a topic sentence. Oh, that doesn't work. That does. Okay? And I can write my topic sentence here. Here is my claim. All right, what goes next? Set up context for my evidence. Well, now wait a second. Now this is underneath. That's not a. It's a new sentence. It shouldn't go there. All right, take your cursor, place it here, hold down the Shift key, and press Tab, and you'll back it up. And so you can be more efficient. Keep your hands off the mouse, and you can vroom back and forward. Beep, beep, beep. Beep, 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 beep. And you can play with this to create your subordination. So after the context, I have evidence. And then I can put my quote in here. I do check for citation on this, so make sure that they're there. Oh, I gotta go backwards. Shift Tab. Commentary. Here is my analysis. Here is some more analysis on that same topic. Connective. All right, move. Boom, bang. I haven't touched my mouse that whole time. So if you get comfortable with using keyboard commands, you can very quickly create an organized list. This is a great skill to have in life. It's a great way to take notes on a Chromebook if you are going to do that. There is also this if you want to just file, make a copy, and use this. And maybe transition and try building your own outline later, whatever you choose. Okay? So that's what you're going to work on for the first hour today. I do want to release you to the wider internet and researching in the wider internet. I asked you to spend some time trying to get the databases to work, switching up your search terms, changing your database if the database you weren't working, maybe even trying the database JSTOR and trying some scholarly articles and really stretching yourself. Now let's talk about the wider internet. Now normally when I'm in class I can do a nice long lecture on the way Google works, why Wikipedia is not a trusted source, ways that you can try to make Wikipedia work for you. We're going to have to shortcut all that. Let me just show you one place where I really think it is an awesome resource for students to use. It's called ProCon.org. And I didn't want you to see this until you tried the databases, because my suggestion is that ProCon might actually send you back into the databases with more tools at your disposal. And remember, we're going to write 2 persuasive papers. So if you feel like, oh, this would have been a great resource to have at the start, well, you're going to get it at the start of the next paper. So here's tablets versus textbooks. That feels like a topic that is kind of in line with the question that some of you are answering. And what ProCon does is it sits here and it takes a pro and con. Pro to having tablets in school versus the con of having technology in school. So if you're going to write an argument that entertainment like phones in schools is making students pay less attention, you might find a con that matches that. And if this data right here is super helpful to you, then this is an awesome quote. But here's the thing. don't want you to go and take this and drop it into citation generators and put this on your works cited page. Because ProCon is just a organization that went out and grabbed this stuff. They snipped it out of someone's larger work. Now, they didn't plagiarize or anything because they have the citations right here. And I want you to live the life of a real researcher and use these citations to go read the original source, because a lot of them you'd be able to find. So if I like this data right here, a teacher survey that 87% of K through 12 teachers believe that today's technology causes too much distraction. I'm going to remember this number, 24, and click on it. And this should take me to what's called an anchor link at the bottom of this page. And number 24, we have Leslie Lanier, Digital Information Overload, Overwhelms and Distracts Students, from decodedscience.com. I'm going to head to Google. Decoded, and I am actually doing this live. I don't know what I'm going to find. So Decoded Science Lanier. Look at that. First hit. And now I have a website that ProCon said looks pretty good. And now that I look at this, maybe I can learn more about who Leslie Lanier is, if that's on here. Looks like maybe she is on the staff of this particular website. And you know what? I'm going to go to About Us. I don't know anything about this website. They do say that they are a nonprofit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have bias. Here's some of the scientists. Maybe Leslie's on here. I'll do a Command F. Aha! Let's find out who Leslie is. Has a master's degree in learning disabilities and a Bachelor of Humanities degree in English language and literature. She holds a high school teaching certificate, so she's a teacher. All right, a decent resource. Okay, I think this would probably be okay to use, right? And so I've now actually found out some more about the author. I found out some more about the website. Let's do it with the second one. 4/5 of students aged 8 to 18 multitask while using digital media. And this is from this website here. So this time I'm going to pop into Google this article. And it seems to be in a journal on educational leadership. So I'm going to guess that these people know what they're talking about. And then one of the things that you can do, since that's being slow, I'm going to go into the database, and we're going to say, so Gasser and Palfrey. Maybe I will go into the databases. And I'm going to go into JSTOR. I'm going to do an advanced search. And I want one of my authors to be Gasser. And I want my other author to be Palfrey. I'm going to change this to author. And I'm going to search. And look at all this stuff that these two have worked on together. Doesn't turn up the one that we found on the ProCon, but this might be. Oh, gotta log in. Zero 3110. Ooh, and this doesn't look. That doesn't look too I look like I could manage that. That doesn't look too high level for me. And I could learn a little bit about growing up digitally native. All right, found that on ProCon, but now I'm reading the author's actual work. I know that it's going to really help me if I need to take a con argument, but I'm going to go and do the follow-up myself. I'm going to learn about the authors, and I'm going to make sure that my source is credible. Is it more steps than Google? For sure, but this looks like something a teacher would print out and hand to me, right? Hopefully you can see the value in that and the difference in that. If you need to go do some more research while you're outlining today, do it. There's no reason not to. Just make sure you add it to your Works Cited page. And on that note, if you end up dropping one of the 3 notes that you had to do for today, one of the 3 articles, and you don't use it in your paper at all, leave it off of your Works Cited page. You don't get extra credit for showing how much you researched. You only get credit for the writing that you turned in. If you research something, you read an article, and you don't cite it, then don't put it in your Works Cited page. That's what it's called. The only works on your Works Cited should be what you actually cite. It's not called, unfortunately, Works Researched. So this is why people tear their hair out while researching, because it can be a lot of work, and you only maybe choose 2 sources to actually put on your Works Cited page. And that's the process. That's kind of what independent learning is all about, because there isn't a teacher finding an article like this and printing it out. You're doing that work, and it takes a lot of work. Okay, so you're going to get started on your outlines. I will have the Google Meet on, but I'll probably be a little distracted because I'll be working through your working theses and making comments and suggestions. And then as soon as I'm done with that, I'll start popping in and out of outlines as well. I would say our target is the 9 o'clock hour. Probably start to try to wrap things up and aim for that same 9:15 where people are able to start maybe taking a stretch break, because then we have to switch units. We actually have to switch over to response to literature today. Busy day, day 3, over halfway through. Let's go.